All right, welcome back. We are now moving on to some of the more difficult parts. So we've done all of the plates, some of the roof tile, the round, we've done the brick. So all these are a little bit more challenging. These, plates with angles. So we'll get to that. Those in a future video. This is probably going to be one of the last parts we make because again, it's pretty tough to make this little nub connector here. And this one is somewhat tough as well um, with the geometry, but we're gonna look at the roof tile um, that's a 1x3, and I think it's like a 25-degree angle on this is what it says, I believe. So we're gonna work at this one today, and then the propeller is going to be a little bit of a challenge too. So these are, you know, this is these are going to be tough, but I think we can do it. I've not really made these parts before, so it's going to take me a minute. We're going to kind of stumble through some things, but that's okay. That's part of it. Um, so let's get to it. Uh, I'm just going to start with a fresh file. We'll start with the Lego master file and then work our way from there. So we'll do a file save as. It's called a roof tile 1x3. And we will turn off this sketch. We will create our own. And I'm just going to build it from the ground up. I'm going to just do a 1, so a Lego base here, and then a Lego base times 3 here. So I'm going to start with the 1x3. I'm going to finish that. I'm going to extrude this full height this time. So that should be fixed now because we adjusted that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my face. Now wait a second. We need to put a stud up here on the top. So we're going to create a spot. We're going to do a circle. And then I'm going to actually create a construction line along here. And then I'm going to put this onto here. And then I'm going to put a midpoint and measure from the midpoint. Instead of doing from the edge, I'd rather do the midpoint. And dimension from here to the midpoint and say that that's Lego base. And now I can dimension this as stud diameter. Is how I'm going to measure that. And then I'm going to make this stud height. And there's my single stud. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and do my offset faces. There's a method to the madness. I'll explain why. Because it comes down to how we're going to cut away the material that goes along here. So again, we are looking at this piece right here. And it tells us it's a 25-degree angle. But when you put a brick, a 1x1 on top of this, that line right there is like flush with a 1x1. So that's why I went ahead and did the face offsets, because this face, remember, is not Lego base. Like the length of this back edge, that's Lego base minus 2 kerf. Well, the distance from here to here is going to be the same distance as that. So if we go ahead and do this, when I make a sketch on this side, and I'm going to draw a line, it goes from here to here, I can essentially say, based on this, I could project some geometry here, and then I could create a line that goes from here, I'll bring it all the way down. And then I can say that this point and this point are symmetric about this. So you can see that the kerf is gone because it's not right on the line anymore. So I'm going to use my symmetry, say this and this are symmetrical about that. And now I know that that distance from there to there is essentially, is correct. So if I measure the distance from here to here, that distance should be that 0.937. And there it is. And we can have that just to show it, and that's great. We can also go from here to here and do this angle and do a 25-degree angle, and now we have the makings of our part. I can then do an extrude cut and go through the material here. Say okay, and there's my brick. Now, underside, very similar to what we've done before. So I'm going to create a sketch. I'm actually going to project this geometry on the bottom, and then I could do a rectangle pattern of this, which I think I'm going to do. So I'll do or I could just draw a couple circles. You know, it might be faster to do circles. So I'm just going to create a construction line that goes from here all the way over, and then circle that's here, circle that's here, make them equal to this, dimension these up. This is Lego base, this is also Lego base, and then make a rectangle around it. So we're just doing the same thing we do every time for the underside of these. Tangent these up. Offset tool, that's O is the hotkey on that. We're going in by curve. And then we're going to put our little pins on the bottom. Now, the actual, like the one that I'm looking at, has a different, like a unique underside to it. I don't think it's, I mean, we could do it like they've got it here in the underside, but I don't think it's necessary to do it the way they've done it. They've essentially put a wall here and then extruded that wall so it grabs onto this pin. They didn't use a pin connector there. It's probably okay to do that. And then they put a pin connector here, and then they put a little extension over here to grab the stud that comes into this. So it looks kind of unique in what they've done, but I'm just going to make it 3. I'm just going to do the same thing that we've always done. Again, their method is probably to reduce material, where, you know, for us, it really doesn't matter. We're not, you know, most of it's going to be hollow anyway when we do our stuff. Okay, what happened here? So I made that tangent to this. Oh, it's because it's not on this line. This is, remember, this is the line that is the edge of this part, not where the curve is. So I need to remove this from this midpoint, I think is where it's at. Yeah, there we go. And then I want to constrain this to this, just like that. And then I also want it to be on the line. So right now it's movable, but I don't want it on. Yeah, that's weird. No, it's good. So it's not on that line anymore, but I want to constrain it to the line. So I'm going to do a coincident constraint between this and this. Okay, now we're all set. Turn off the construction line, and now we're going to do a offset of curve times, I think 5/4. I think. I gotta look that up. So, I mean, the great thing is you just literally finish your sketch, go back into the first sketch, and here it is. Yep, it's 5/4. And I didn't really even need these, so I'm going to delete this one and just create a regular circle. I don't know what I just did there. Double click. Okay, circle. I'm going to put a circle on here, and then I'm going to make it equal to this, and then I'm just going to make this dimension equal to Lego base. And now it's in position. It should grab everything the way it should grab. And I only have this line. I'm going to make a construction line actually, just so it doesn't grab extra. See how it cuts it up into parts? So I'm just going to turn that into a construction line. And now when I do my extrude, grabs these, we're going to go negative hole depth and be fine. Now, we have to be concerned about this over here. So I'm going to do an analysis again and make sure that we have enough material. Yeah, see how this is getting fairly close in here? But I think we're good. I think we have enough material there that when we use the 3D printer and it cuts that, there'll be enough material there when we make this. So I think we're okay. This looks like a good part. Cancel that. Time to put on the old fillets or chamfers, and then we're actually going to fillet this as well, just like we did the other roof tile. So these are going to be kerf times 2, and then I'm just going to do a little bit. How do we need to? I think we're going to leave it. I think we're going to do that. I think we're just going to leave it as is. We'll go with that. Save it. That one's going to be done. You could fillet those, you know, those corners and those edges if you wanted to, and we could really do that to all the Legos to soften up those edges, so you don't kind of slice yourself a little bit, I guess. But if you're going to do it, you could do kerf times 2. It's a pretty small amount. 8 thousandths is just enough of a round over, you know, to give it a little soft break on the edge there. On that. That looks pretty good. We'll keep it like that. If we don't like it, we can always take that fillet off there at the end when we do it. But that's how I'm going to do the underside. Should work out great. Again, you can test your stuff like we usually do. 0.568, that looks good. Test this one here. Get that line. 2.458. Again, if we're unsure, go back to our master. There it is, 2.458. So it checks out that master sketch. Okay, roof tile 1x3 complete. Again, stop watching, start making. All right, go build something great today.